Key West, the southernmost town in the continental United States. Famous for its tropical weather, key lime pie, sunsets, funky vibes, the bars on Duval Street, and chickens that just kind of freely roam around town. It's a place with a character all its own that's like nowhere else in the United States. Key West is a great place to visit that deserves more than a day trip, but hotels and home rentals here can be really pricey these days, so visiting Key West as one of your port stops on a cruise may just be the most economical way to visit, see some of the highlights, and at least get a little taste of the island before you decide if you want to come back down here for a longer stay sometime. We were here in Key West for just one day as one of our ports of call on a cruise we just took with Virgin Voyages. We only had about 8 hours in town here to cram in as much as we could, and we're going to show you what we did and what we saw on our whirlwind one-day trip to Key West, Florida. So come along with us, we're going to show you around the island. Stepping off the ship around 9 a.m. in Key West, we knew we wanted to be able to get around as quickly as possible to try to do as much as possible with our one day here. So we rented a golf cart right here at the pier from a company called Fury Golf Cart Rentals. The price for this was $155 for a full day, but there are some less expensive options if you don't need it for that long. Most of the roads on Key West are like side streets with low speed limits, and traffic on the island is pretty slow, so driving this golf cart, I never really felt like I was holding anybody up or anything by putting around town in a slow golf cart. But to be honest, finding parking was a bit more challenging than I expected. Most of the street parking in Key West is reserved for residents, so we did have to spend at least a little bit of time hunting for a spot, and most of the time when you do find a spot, it's paid parking. So just be ready for that if you decide to do something like this. So after we got in the golf cart and took off, our first stop in Key West was the Southernmost Point buoy. And you know, sure, it's touristy and it's cliche, and yeah, we know, it's not even really the real Southernmost Point. Yep, sorry to be the one to tell you that, but this famous photo op isn't even the true southernmost point on the island. The real southernmost point is inside the Truman Annex, and that's U.S. Navy property, so you can't even go in there as a civilian. But despite all that, the buoy is still really iconic, and it's one of those things you just kind of have to see while you're here. We've all seen photos of this thing like 1,000 times, so it is fun to swing by and get your own photo taken with it, but something you usually don't see in those photos is the long line of people just out of frame who are also there to get their photo taken with this famous piece of concrete. We did know this place can get pretty busy, so we swung by here first just to kind of get this one out of the way before the crowds got too bad, and honestly the line did move really quick. Just be careful with that sea spray though, the waves were smacking against the wall right here, and if you weren't paying attention, you could get soaked. So after taking one of the most cliched photographs in Key West, next we headed to what is probably the most popular attraction in Key West, Ernest Hemingway's house. This beautiful French colonial style home was built here in 1851, and it became Hemingway's residence in 1931. He lived in this home until 1939 and wrote some of his most famous works here, including To Have and Have Not, a novel that was inspired by his time here in Key West. The rooms of this famous home are filled with period furniture and original decor that was set up just as they were when Hemingway lived here. It's an interesting place to visit and is kind of one of those must-do things if you're ever here in Key West. And of course, this residence is home to his famous six-toed cats, all descendants of Hemingway's own pet cat, Snow White. These unique cats are a beloved part of the property, they're all over the place, and honestly, they were kind of our favorite part of the experience here. It almost feels like this entire property is for the cats, and us humans are just being allowed to kind of come in here for a visit. The Ernest Hemingway home costs $18 per person and includes a 30-minute guided tour, or if you don't want to do the tour, you can just kind of walk around and explore the place on your own. And next, right across the street from the Hemingway house, so you don't have to go and find parking again, the Key West Lighthouse and Museum. This is one of the island's oldest and most picturesque landmarks. It was built here in 1848, and this lighthouse actually replaced an even older one that was destroyed by a hurricane here in 1846 and has been guiding ships safely through the dangerously shallow waters surrounding Key West ever since. The lighthouse is 73 feet tall, so it's relatively short compared to many other lighthouses, but it still offers a great panoramic view of the entire island, making the climb up its 88 steps well worth the effort. And it's a good way to get in a little extra cardio during the day and burn off some of those key lime pie calories that are going to come a little bit later. The Key West Lighthouse here is unique for its rich history because in a time when most lighthouse keepers were men, one of the longest serving keepers was a woman. Barbara Mabry, who took over in the 1830s after her husband died, kept the light shining here for over 30 years. This lighthouse has served through hurricanes, wars, and witnessed Key West's eventual evolution from a naval outpost to a hot tourist destination. Admission to the lighthouse and museum is $15.50 for adults and $7.50 for kids under 18. At this point, we decided it was lunchtime, so we headed over to one of Key West's most famous restaurants, Blue Heaven. That's known for its fun atmosphere, outdoor bar with live music, and its world-famous key lime pie. We decided to sit inside because it was already really hot outside. We ordered a burger and a blackened mahi-mahi sandwich for lunch. Honestly, both were fine, but nothing to get too excited over. Better than average beach bar food, I'd say. Decent mahi sandwich. But the real reason you come here is for the vibes, the live chickens that are all over the place, and the key lime pie. This slice comes topped with a mountain of meringue and is made from freshly juiced limes. It was delicious and always ranks among the best key lime pies in a town that is just covered in places, all claiming to be the best. Just a short little drive from Blue Heaven, next we visited Fort Zachary Taylor State Park. Fun fact, this is the southernmost state park in the continental United States and a great stop on any Key West itinerary for both history buffs and beach lovers. The huge fort here began construction in 1845 and played a role in the Civil War when it served as a strategic stronghold for the Union during the war. And today it's one of the best preserved examples of Civil War era military architecture in the country. Its brick walls and massive cannons help tell the story of this fort's fascinating past, and it has the largest collection of seacoast cannons anywhere in the US. But even if history isn't really your thing, this park is still worth a visit for its beautiful beach and clear blue water that will almost feel like you're in the Caribbean down here. Key West, believe it or not, isn't really a beach town, and that tends to surprise a lot of people. None of the keys are really that beachy, but right here you'll find what is one of the nicest beaches in the entire Florida Keys. It's a great place to go for a swim or just hang out and relax under these pines and palm trees along the water. Next up, we decided we just wanted to kind of drive around the town a little bit without any real destination in mind. We just wanted to get a sense of the town and just drive the golf cart around a little bit, but we did decide we wanted to see the mile marker 0 sign. This marks the official end of the road for US 1, which stretches 2,369 miles from Fort Kent, Maine at the Canadian border all the way down here to Key West. And after stopping here just to look and take pictures of a street sign, we decided to see if anything was happening at Mallory Square. Mallory Square is a huge brick-paved waterfront plaza that draws huge crowds every single night for its sunset celebrations that take place every night of the year. It was still daytime when we were out here, so there wasn't much to see yet, but this area draws big crowds to watch the sunsets here every evening, and this nightly event is probably even more famous for all the street performers that come out here to entertain the crowds and be part of the party. Artists, street musicians, jugglers, magicians, and food carts are all out here every night for this. We were a little early this time, but maybe next time we'll get a chance to be part of that fun if we're back here. And finally, can you really say you've been to Key West if you didn't visit Duval Street? This is Key West's main drag, and just about the entire stretch is covered in bars, restaurants, touristy shops, and places that all kind of claim to have the best key lime pie in town. Legendary bars like Sloppy Joe's, where Ernest Hemingway hung out and drank daiquiris, the Bull and Whistle, Willie T's, the Green Parrot, and a few places name-dropped in Jimmy Buffett tunes, like the Chart Room and Captain Tony's Saloon.
I went down to Captain Tony to get out of the heat.
Drawn in by that huge Goliath grouper overhead and its claim as the oldest bar in Florida, we also went down to Captain Tony's to get out of the heat, have a few beers, and soak in the atmosphere of this iconic Key West dive bar. The decor and dollar bills hanging all over the walls here could probably tell some wild stories, and so could the bar stools. All of them are painted with the name of a famous person who came in here and had a drink while in town. Turns out, I was sitting in Jerry Seinfeld's seat. Now, Key West is a place that really does deserve a trip of its own, so it's hard to squeeze it all in while just coasting around a golf cart for the day. So a few places that we didn't make it to on this trip were the Key West Shipwreck Museum, the Key West Aquarium, the Key West Butterfly Conservatory, Harry Truman's Little White House, the Fort East Martello Museum, which is home to Robert the Doll, said to be the most haunted object in the world, or the Key West Museum of Art, but we did at least see that building. So those are all even more options if you also find yourself in Key West with just a day to spend and want to cram in as much as you can. But we had a great time doing this. Renting the golf cart, we kind of treated it like a cruise excursion for that $155 and gave us a great chance to see a lot of the island in a short amount of time. And can't wait to get back down here and see even more of this island next time. Alright, thanks for watching. If you like this video and love to learn about more fun and interesting things to do all around Florida, from the theme parks to the state parks, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, maybe even send this to one other person who you think might like this video, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.